Hello beautiful people, welcome back to my channel. My name is Bettina and I'm the makeup enthusiast. In today's video I'm bringing you my April update on my Pan That palette series. In my Pan That palette series I have 4 palettes here at the moment that I am working on. Some of these I have been working on since the start of the year, so it started this like the 1st of January. Some of these I have been working on since the start of and then some of these I've been working on since the start of February, so I've been working on them for 2 months now. Others I've been working on for 4 months, and I'll let you know which palettes they are. So my eyeshadow palettes, these two guys, the Lorac Pro 1 and the Joseph Colors Marvelous Mauves palette, I've been working on for 2 months. And then the ABH contour kit and the Too Faced Love Flush wardrobe I've been working on since the start of January, so I've been working on these two for 4 months now. Let's jump on in, see how I went with these palettes. I will let you know a sneak peek. I had another fairly successful month this month. I have hit pan on 2 shades and I'm going to leave those 2 shades to the end. So we'll start with the ones that we are still having trouble with. And that first one is this ABH contour kit here. This sucker right here, it is relentless. It is not giving in at all. I'm getting a fairly considerable dip in the like the pale toned skin color here. So I mix this one with the banana powder and put that under my eyes. I don't love the way it looks, but I've been putting up with it. It kind of settles down the really brightness, the over brightness of my concealer. And then my highlighter, it still looks like it has barely changed since last month, and I haven't touched any of these bronzers. I just haven't been feeling it with these bronzers, so I haven't really. The only things I've been using in this palette are the top row here. Like I said, this one here, the like skin toned color, it's starting to get a fairly substantial dip in it. Once again, I don't even know whether you guys are going to be able to see it in the photos, because last month I said the same thing and you could barely see the dip. So hopefully the dip is starting to get to the point where it is actually showing up on camera. But there is definitely a dip there. I promise you there's a dip there. I'm not lying. Yeah, I don't know. This palette, these powders are very, very densely packed. They are jam-packed in there. They are so hard to get through. Like, I don't think I've ever experienced a powder so tightly packed. This thing is like, they are jammed in there. Like, they are pressed so hard and heavily into those pans. Like, it's just impossible to get through them. So I think it's going to take me a very long time to hit pan on these. It's frustrating. It's frustrating. I'm going to continue to use this because it's something that I can very easily incorporate into my everyday routine. So last month, this one weighed in at 194.21 grams. And now she is down to, holy moly. Holy moly. Now it is down to 193.8 grams. So over the course of the month, I have dropped 0.4 of a gram, but since the start of the year, I have now dropped more than a whole gram. I have now dropped more than a whole gram. Holy moly. So I only have a total of 17 grams to go, or 16 and a bit grams to go. Wow. Wow. That doesn't mean I'm anywhere near hitting pan. I still have like another, probably at least a gram, if not more, before I hit pan on anything. But like, I'm seeing progress in the numbers. Like, I've dropped a whole gram, which means that there's only 16 and a bit left to go on this palette. We're going to be here for a while. We're going to be here for a while with this one. The next one is my Too Faced Love Flush palette. And this one, I had very, very big dreams and aspirations for this palette at the start of the year, but it seems that those dreams are very quickly being crushed, and we're being real now and realizing that the original dream of using this entire palette up at the start of the year, we're not going to see that this year, because these guys are, once again, really tightly packed. These are super pigmented. They are only minis, but they are jam-packed in there. They are super pigmented as well. And for me, with pale skin, I think if you had deeper skin, you would probably get through these a lot quicker, because you would need to use more for it to show up on your skin. But for me, like especially these ones like down the end here, this one in particular, the one that I was working on this past month, like I barely even dip my brush. Like I don't swirl it. I kind of like dab in and blend it out, and dab in and blend it out, and it shows up extremely well on my skin. So this blush wardrobe is very good value, but it is also really annoying if you are trying to pan it, because it's going to take you forever. I think that this will take me probably a good year, like a good another year to use up. So in total, it'll probably take me a good 2 years of pretty much every single day use to get through all 6 of these, and they're minis. Like, it just goes to show how long it takes you to pan a blush. It's ridiculous. So this guy started at 129.1 grams at the start of April. Now it weighs in at 128.63 grams. So over the month, I've dropped about half a gram, which is still, I think, really good progress. I think that's on a blush that I find like so pigmented on my skin. I think still using up half a gram of a blush is really good progress this month. So my main focus this month was getting rid of the TF imprint in the color Your Love is King. I have kind of succeeded on that. You can see like the last little remnants of that imprint on the pan on this one. I didn't quite completely get rid of it. And then I have also been using this one that I already had pan on a little bit, just trying to expand that pan. I have been trying to like focus up on this top corner here to get rid of that, so make it look like I've completely used half of the pan. But it is kind of hard to get your brush up in like this top corner here when you have like a fairly, like my blush brush is fairly big, and I'm trying to like get this little like slither up here. I did think about repressing this particular one this month, but I just want the satisfaction of making it look like I have like completely used up half the blush. So I have not repressed it purely for aesthetic reasons, because I want to get rid of that little slither and I want it to look like it's like completely half of the pan. So going forward, I think I'm going to continue to work on Your Love is King, especially as we're moving into the winter months. I think that like this kind of purpley toned blush is a perfect color for this time of the year. So I think it'll blend in really well with like my makeup as I move into winter. So I'm going to continue on with that one. We'll see how we go at the next update. If I am getting sick of it, I might switch to one of the other 3 that I haven't like gotten rid of the imprint in yet. So I might move to one of them, but it might depend on how much progress I have on this one at the end of May. At the end of May, it might depend on how I'm tracking on this blush right here at the end of May. That will depend on whether I move on to a different color or if I continue on with this one. I might have a decent dip and I want to like hit pan on it. So we'll see how we go over May, and I will let you know at my next update like my plan for the following month with this blush palette. So yeah, half a gram. I'm very happy with that. Each of these have 2 grams in them, so each blush has 2 grams. So if I continue to use half a gram, that is kind of in line with how I've been going. That means that basically every 4 months I'm using up an entire blush. So since the start of the project, I have since the start of the project, I have used up an entire an entire pan worth of blush across this palette. It doesn't really seem like that though, does it? It really doesn't. This side of the blush in this one, it must be quite shallow. I would imagine that's probably where the majority of the weight is in this one. It really doesn't seem like I have used up an entire blush across this whole palette, but that's what the numbers indicate. The numbers indicate that I have used over 2 grams of product. I've used 2.3 grams of product approximately in total across this palette. So yeah, we're making, like, according to the numbers, we're making decent progress, but as we're tracking, it's pretty much every 4 months I'm using up a blush. So by that, like, I'll have half of this palette done by the end of the year, and then I guess we'll try and pan the other half of the palette next year. We'll see how I feel at the end of the year about that palette. The next palette that I'm going to talk about will be my two blush palettes. The next palettes that I'm going to talk about will be my 2 eyeshadow palettes, and I'm really enjoying using these palettes, but at the same time I'm kind of like, I want to swap them out, but I'm going to continue on with these into May, and then I think at the end of May I will definitely swap these out for another palette. So we'll start with this little one right here. So this is the Dose of Colors Marvelous Mauves palette. This one was 86.5 grams last month. This month it is 86.4 grams. So I have used 0.1 of a gram. Doesn't seem like much, and especially compared to the previous month where I used over 1/4 of a gram. But on this one, I have managed to hit pan on another shade. I managed to hit pan on this second lightest one here. Yeah, it's only quite a small amount of pan, but it's still pan nonetheless. I am going to take the win. I'm going to take it and run with it. So next month, I want to hit pan on this lighter shade here. And then once I hit pan on the lighter shade, I am 100% going to roll this palette out. These 2 dark shades, it's going to take me forever to hit pan on them. So once I hit pan on this really pale pink shade, I am going to roll this palette out, and I'm going to call this palette a massive, massive success when I hit pan on that really pale palette. But as per usual, I am loving this palette. I think the formula on these shades is absolutely beautiful. It's a really beautiful palette to work with, and it blends really nicely and beautifully. So I'm taking the win. And I'm now just hoping that I can hit pan on this really pale pink shade. So yeah, really successful month on the Marvelous Mauves palette as well. It would have been nice to have it even more successful yet, but I will take the single shade. I will take it. The last palette is my Lorac Pro 1 palette. I also managed to hit pan on a shade in this palette as well, and I hit pan on the shade Cream, which is the second lightest matte color in this palette. And this was another one that I was using like as an all-over setting my eyeshadow base, setting my eyeshadow base color. So that's how I managed to get through it pretty quickly, because I was using quite a lot of it at a time. Going forward, obviously I would like to hit pan on more shades in this palette, but I think in May I don't think that's going to be possible, because the rest of the colors are deeper shades that I would be using like in my outer corner and through my crease. So I would at least like to get a considerable dip on the colors from taupe through to sable. I think espresso will be a tad too dark for me to be able to get a decent dip in. But if I could get a really decent, nice dip in the colors taupe, light pink, mauve, and sable, I would be one happy girl. Don't have to hit pan. I'll be happy if I don't hit pan. But if I can have a really considerable dip in those 4 shades, I will be very, very happy, and I will consider that a success. So yeah, I've got 2 pans in this Lorac Pro 1 palette. I would definitely like to see more pans, but I don't think that's going to happen. I'm trying to be a realist when it comes to panning these eyeshadows, but I am very happy with the progress that I'm making so far. And let's see how much eyeshadow we actually used on this palette this month. So this one weighed in at 127.43 grams last month. And this month it weighs in at 127.12 grams. I've used 31 grams. Sorry. I think I said that last month that I used 31 grams, and I was like, what are you thinking? I've used 0.13 of a gram. So over a quarter of a gram. I think that's a really fantastic achievement in 1 month to use more than a quarter of a gram. So yeah, I'm still really happy with the progress that I'm making on this palette. I think getting the total down overall, like across the whole palette, is still a really good achievement. Obviously it's not as visually pleasing and as visually satisfying as actually seeing and hitting a pan, but if I'm still knocking the total down, like, it's still success. I still consider it a success. That is my last palette that I have to update you on. So as I said, I'm going to roll these all over again for another month. I think at the end of May, you'll probably see some new eyeshadow palettes coming in, because like as much as I don't get bored with eyeshadow palettes, I am finding that I am getting bored with eyeshadow palettes. What a contradictory statement. Like, after using like the same eyeshadow palette for 2 to 3 months straight, I'm finding that I'm getting bored of eyeshadow palettes. So I think keeping my usual, like, I think going forward, rotating them out between 2 and 3 months, the eyeshadow palettes, I think I'm going to continue to go on with that, because like I said, as much as I don't get bored of eyeshadow palettes, I'm finding that I'm getting bored with eyeshadow palettes. So that's my April update on my Pan That Palette series. I'm quite happy with how I'm continuing on with this project. Like, as you can see, like, there's still palettes that are giving me frustration, and like I said, the numbers, they're still chugging away, they're still moving down, but not seeing that like visual pan, that satisfying pan. It just makes it hard to like continue to move on sometimes. But I think having the numbers for me is really helping me, because I can see that I'm still making progress. I can see that the numbers are still like lowering, but like obviously pan, like as soon as you hit that pan, you feel like you have made one of the biggest accomplishments. So pan always helps, but the numbers, I think for me, are still continuing to motivate me. Let me know down in the comments box how you are going on your pan those palettes, or if you are rotating through palettes and whatnot on a monthly basis, how you're going. Have you managed to hit pan on any eyeshadows or any blushes, bronzers, highlighters, anything like that? Let me know down in the comments box. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you give it a big thumbs up, and if you haven't already, I hope you would consider subscribing down below so you can keep up to date on all my project panning videos that I release every single month. That's it for this video, beauties. I hope you are having a fantastic day, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.